Action.
Welcome to Off Camera, the UC Film Society radio show all about movies. I'm Ollie.
I'm Jake.
And I'm Cam.
And we'll be your directors for this episode. Today we're going to be talking about Oppenheimer,
Yes.
which I say with a pause because
R.
I know
after today,
we've already talked
apart
about
from mentioning it during the Oscars, it's going to be banned for a while.
That's not fun.
Like Wes Anderson was.
We should be talking
Because
about
we've
Oppenheimer
talked about
every
it
single day.
too much. But I am excited to talk about it because I only just watched it for the first time. So that's what we'll be talking about today. It's probably going to be the bulk of the episode.
Yeah.
But otherwise today is a standard episode.
Let's roll into recent watching. Jake, do you want to go first? Ollie will go last.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
Sure. So I watched Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo for the first time. If I had to make like a short list of like the 10 films that I think were literally among the best I've ever seen, like not necessarily my favorites, but like the best of all time, this would be there. This would be high up on there. It's not an original take for me. Like a lot of people think that. I'm just kind of adding to the conversation, but I mean, this film just blew me away on every single level. I mean, it taps into a part of the human brain that I just don't think it's been explored in many films. It came out in 1958 too. So, yeah.
Hitchcock has a lot of films.
Yeah.
When I was making my list of movies, I've started making lists of like a director and then every single like feature film they've made and whether I've seen it or not. And I looked at Hitchcock's and I was like,
it's crazy.
I'm not making this list because there's no way I will ever watch all of his movies.
I don't think I will either.
He's directed 69 movies.
Which is not a lot compared to other people.
That's a lot.
But like it is a lot. But
Yeah.
like Spielberg has also directed
36.
like a
think.
large chunk.
Yeah.
I know that's double, but
Yeah.
it's still like 36 is still a lot. But Hitchcock's are also all not in my vibe
Yeah.
and also are older movies.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I just know I'm not going to watch them. But some of them.
Cam, I think you'd really like this movie, and specifically because you told me about this idea you had for a class story, the detective story.
Oh, yeah.
And this is very, very much in that vein. So
He stole my idea.
yeah, you should go kill
Time
him.
to
I haven't
He definitely died at least.
I
20
haven't
years
seen
before
enough
I was
of
born, but
Hitchcock, but it's definitely my favorite. I also rewatched Denis Villeneuve's Blade Runner 2049, which is a film you both need to see. It's a masterpiece.
Ollie kind of watched it.
No, not 2049.
No, sorry, that one.
Not
that one.
2049.
I've seen Blade Runner. I have seen it confidently enough to say I know the plot and what happens, but I don't think I could tell you any of the dialogue, like not even a single line. And I don't feel like it had enough of an impact on me because I didn't watch it properly.
I definitely think 2049 is better. I like it more. And you don't really need to be familiar with the first Blade Runner to watch it. I mean, you need to know Harrison Ford's character because he shows up in it. And actually, you do need to know a bit. But if you just read a plot recap, you should be okay.
I would
the first
would rewatch Blade Runner before watching 2049. I don't know that I would go so far as to like specifically say I have to watch the theatrical, like the version you gave me, which was like the
final cut.
the final cut theatrical.
Yeah, just watch
version.
a regular
Yeah, I
version.
would just watch
Yeah.
whatever's on.
Streaming.
Yeah, whatever I can find.
Yeah. It's just amazing, and Roger Deakins' cinematography is literally the best I've seen, like hands down. I couldn't even like.
You say that about every cinematographer because you say that about Hoyt van Hoytema.
He's my favorite working today. I'm just saying, in specifically this movie, his cinematography is up there.
And who's the one who did the Batman?
Craig Fraser.
Yeah.
Craig Fraser, Roger Deakins, and Hoyta are like my three gods in terms of cinematography.
Roger Deakins.
I'm with you there.
Roger Deakins was like involved in making How to Train Your
Yeah,
Dragon.
he's done so many animated films.
He wasn't the cinematographer.
Yeah.
But he was like their god.
He did it with He did it with Rango too.
Yeah.
So that's.
But I
that's
think
really cool.
I think How to Train Your Dragon was like the first one that he
Yeah.
sort of did it with, because everywhere talks about it as being like this amazing thing. And then he also did it. Yeah. Like
I don't think I paid enough attention to the cinematography in it, to be honest. I've just been focusing on the dragons.
I mean, to be fair,
and the score.
the animation is like a particular style which doesn't quite hold up today. Like if they released it in that style today, you'd be like, But the cinematography with that animation looks awesome.
Yeah, that's true.
And then I watched 2 films for Australian National Cinema. I watched 2023's The Royal Hotel, the Australian horror film, and along with that, Wake and Fright from 1971.
So did I.
Yeah.
Minus the Royal Hotel.
Yeah, I felt very similarly about both of them. There was things I liked, there was things I didn't. I wouldn't really come back to them, but I didn't necessarily hate watching them.
I didn't watch Wake and Fright during Australian National Cinema. It was on the list. I just didn't watch it.
It's
but everyone who did was like hated that because it was so intense.
Yeah.
Not they didn't like it, but they
Yeah.
just hated the experience.
It's not a good experience. And I love those types of movies. I love those movies where you just descend into madness and watch crazy stuff happen. And this didn't really tell it in the best way, but I did appreciate those moments. But yeah, not the greatest movie.
I think I'm with you there.
Yeah.
It was, when it came out, it was seen as very controversial because of the horrific things that it showed.
Yeah.
But
and it still is.
And it still is, I'll be honest.
One of Scorsese's favorite movies, actually. Yeah.
All right.
It tells me a lot.
All right, Scorsese, whoever you are.
He doesn't matter. So
he doesn't
I
matter.
don't even know why I brought that up.
I don't think I've heard of
You're
him.
one follower.
What has
on
he made?
Letterboxd.
Barbie, and that's it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Oh, and Avengers Endgame.
Yeah. Really? Wow.
Yeah.
No wonder I didn't like it. So
But he
much.
hates Marvel.
They didn't tell him what it was.
Yeah.
When he was making it. They
They're
didn't
like, here
tell
are
him.
some characters.
He was
Do
like,
something
who's
with them."
Iron Man? I don't know, but I'll make it.
Okay, Cam, what did you watch recently?
Oh, I was going to lead off from Wake and Fright just in case. Did you? You didn't.
I'm done.
Have anything? You're done.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
also played Uncharted.
It's such a good game.
Yes.
Yeah, I also watched Wake and Fright, but I'm not the biggest fan of movies set in Australia about like the outback. I really don't like them. Is that it doesn't seem like.
How's your Mad Max interest?
I've never seen it.
Fury Road
Same.
rips.
I don't think I've ever had like
guys
a
are watching
want to
that.
watch it, but
Either.
I also just haven't. It just hasn't popped up on my list when I'm looking for a film to watch.
We have to
It's
watch
not
the
really,
first Mad
None
Max
of them are
for
on
class.
any streaming.
They're all on Stan.
Oh, really? There you
Yeah.
go. Well, I guess Stan is the Australian streaming service.
I guess so. But yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I hate outback towns just being there. I'll be honest. No hate towards people who live in outback towns, but I don't enjoy them. There's nothing to do. It's always hot and disgusting. Doesn't matter what time of the year it is.
And I think those films really show that and intentionally show
Well,
that,
yeah,
which
yeah.
it is effective, but I understand not liking it.
Yeah, but yeah, I just don't like it. I wrote 500 words on it a couple hours ago.
Yeah, me too.
Wow.
It's almost like we're in the same class.
No.
Who'd have thought?
No, you're not on the early lecture.
Oh, that's true.
I also watched Madam Web.
You did see it.
I did see it. It was.
I think that says it all.
I'm trying to find the nicest words for it because I didn't hate it, but I also didn't love it.
It was it like it wasn't as bad as everyone said, but it was a disappointment.
It was a disappointment, but I would describe it as a Spider-Man movie without Spider-Man.
That's
So
what
the
I've
best
seen.
part
Sounds
of
like
the
Morbius.
movie.
Yeah. God, I love Spider-Man.
The dialogue was horrendous, I will say.
How was the acting? Like, were they good?
The acting was
Because they're all
okay.
like good actors.
After seeing a heap of trailers for Anyone But You, watching Sydney Sweeney play a schoolgirl was a little bit weird, but I don't know, it worked.
I don't know if
The
Sydney
girl,
Sweeney's a good
they
actress.
were okay, but Dakota Johnson was it didn't really feel like her character,
Yeah.
especially the end. That was the weirdest.
Well, yeah,
Kinda
I
scene.
know how it ends.
Yeah,
We won't say it on the podcast
I know
for
how it ends.
anyone who's
Spoilers, she
worried
doesn't
about
die.
spoilers.
they beat the bad guy.
But I did
No.
I did see something that suggested that Sony, for their like Sony Spider-Man universe, has been ripping off specific DC comics by one particular writer, Gail Simone, who has written, and let me break it down. There would be so Craven, based on the trailer, the backstory that they've changed, his backstory from the comics, the backstory that they've given him looks almost exactly like the DC character Catman. Different to Batman.
And Catwoman.
Catman, who essentially has this backstory that Craven now has, where his dad like thinks he's terrible and so like sends him out to fight big game, and then he becomes like an anti-hero who's an expert tracker. And then the El Muerto movie that was going to be made, that is now cancelled, about a luchador who appeared in 2 comic issues.
Oh my god.
Also, sort of seems like it was based on Bane, but from specific comic runs. And then Madam Web is sort of like I can't remember the name of it. Was sort of like the Birds of Prey, because it ends with. Okay, I'm gonna spoil it. It ends
I've
with
seen it, yeah.
Madam Web, blind, using psychic powers, like her psychic Spider-Man powers, to direct a group of superheroines. And Birds of Prey is about, like in the comics, written by Gail Simone, is about Oracle using an ability, a disabled character, which Madam Web is disabled by the end of the movie, a disabled character using her abilities, which happens to be a superior intellect and like ability to use technology, to manipulate and direct a group of heroines. It's like,
Yeah.
it's all by this writer, Gail Simone. It's
Like,
I
I know
saw this and I was
Madam
like,
Web
what?
is a big part of the comics, and she has a lot of lore and backstory
Yeah,
there.
it's not the characters, it's
the
the way.
writing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
the way they've written them
100%.
seems to be. Jake searched it up.
Can I was gonna, when you're done, I want to read 2 Letterboxd reviews for Madam
Yeah,
Web.
okay.
They make me laugh.
It just seems like they've taken the stories of other characters and they're building them up to make, because those characters all end up being in. I can't remember. It's like, so the Sinister Six is Marvel, and
Yeah.
that's what they're trying to make, seemingly,
Yeah.
with their like Sony.
the Craven and
Spider-Man
Doc Ock
universe.
and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it seems like they're trying to make a version of it that's like anti-heroes with Venom as well.
Oh yeah.
But there's like it's the something 6 starting with S, which has all Catman, Bane, like it's got these guys in it, and it's so weird. It feels like they're building like this DC group, but in Marvel with Marvel characters.
Can you when did Catman first appear in the comics?
He's intentionally got a similar name to Batman.
I know they're part of the same universe, but
Who's gonna direct Catman?
okay, 1963.
Batman was before that.
Catman, man, I spelled it wrong.
Catman. I love Catman, man.
See Batman.
It's the film Madam Web currently has a 1.6
Okay.
star rating.
Batman
Average.
came out in 1939.
39.
Yeah. Oh, that's weird because when I looked at it, I was sitting in the cinema. It was 1.7.
So it's gone down.
So it's gone down.
I did
Just
see a
because of the
thing.
review.
I did see a thing that said Adam Scott as Ben Parker. They could see how he would be like married to
Marissa Tomei.
Marissa Tomei
Yeah.
as Aunt May.
He was my favorite part, though. I really liked
He's great.
his character. It was really good.
Can I read 2 reviews? The
Yeah.
first one is a 1-star review. This makes Morbius look like the Godfather.
That's the one that I saw.
And this is my favorite one. 0.5-star review. I was at the dentist today for an hour and a half with Imagine Dragons playing in the background the whole time, and I can't believe that wasn't the most painful experience I had today.
I saw that one.
Which
I didn't
is
see the
just
first
golden.
one. I saw that
Oh my
one.
god. Oh my god. Yeah, a lot of the reviews are like, it was so bad. It was funny. How, holy mother of Hades, how in the hell did this get made?
I just don't get it because, like, yes, I think Madam Web would have been a cool movie if it was integrated, like if there was a Spider-Man involved or multiple Spider-Men
No
involved.
one cares about Madam Web. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like that, no,
It's
that
like,
or El Muerto or whatever. Like those
Yeah.
don't necessitate a movie.
I think
I
that got
will
cancelled
say-
though, El Muerto.
yeah, exactly.
I will say, I love that theory.
Yeah,
I love
think
that
it's
theory
so
That's a
good.
great theory,
I'll see if
yeah.
I can
Oh
find it
my
and
God.
send it to you
Before we
guys.
pedal on too long, I will say, when she's first discovering her powers, some of the concepts explored there were so cool.
Well,
and I
think,
wish
like,
they would have kept them, but at the end when she's like Charles Xavier but blind, spoilers again, I'm sorry, but
I've never.
if you want to watch this
this
movie,
movie.
buy the DVD or wait till it comes
I'm
out
good.
on Disney Plus. Don't go and spend $20 on a ticket.
Yeah.
It's not
Like-
worth it.
I'm seeing it in IMAX.
You better record the whole thing.
Like when I mean we were together when the trailer came out and we watched it and we were like, yeah, it looks fine. Like it didn't look as bad as it's become.
I think
in
that's
the
before
first
they
trailer.
changed the story behind
And yeah,
it.
they did change a bunch of it because it was tied to Spider-Man before, but now it's just like a bunch of random. Like
Yeah.
these Spider-Man, well, Spider-Woman characters are, some of them are fan favorites in the comics. They've just done it in such a weird way.
Dakota Johnson's got the weirdest filmography. She's in the 50 Shades movies, and she's in Madam Web, and then she's also in The Social Network. Like, what?
Yeah.
The person that I saw this with was like, oh, Dakota Johnson. She was in 50 Shades. Oh, right. That's
different different
says,
style.
says a lot.
Very different style, just quietly.
Same quality, though?
I don't know. Her acting in this felt really off. Like she always knew what was going to happen, and I know, haha, that's her whole thing. But even when she was discovering her powers and didn't really know what was happening, there was no worry in her face. She was never ever like, "Oh, I'm gonna die." It was always, "It's okay."
I find that interesting as well because like like I said earlier, like none of the actors are considered bad actors or anything.
No.
So what was the director doing?
It sounds like a lot of studio intervention.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And I just don't get, like, how can Sony make Spider-Verse
So cringy.
and then make Madam Web?
It's. I just don't know what they're doing with this.
There's a constant
Sony
theme
Spider-Verse.
of like the girls that she's protecting telling her to stop showing off, like when she's saving them and whatever. But in the final scene, it's like, okay, I'm gonna give more spoilers because I don't like this movie. In the final scene, the girls come back to apartment with takeout, and
No, I'm hungry.
Madam Web's sitting there. We'll get Kingsley's afterwards. Madam Web's sitting there in the chair with the blindfold on, and then she goes, "Bless you," and then one of the girls goes, "What was that?" And then she sneezes.
That's.
Like
I hate that.
the way I know, like it's funny. It could be played off as funny, but it was not funny. It was annoying actually. At that point, it was really
It's like
annoying.
as soon as you said "bless you," I was like, I knew what was going to happen. And
yeah,
that's not
it's like,
fun.
oh,
saw the
someone's
whole
gonna
scene
sneeze.
play
Yeah.
out.
Okay.
Anyway, let's move on. Did you watch anything else, or was that it?
Apart from Wake and Fright, which wasn't great. And I get my ratings. Wake and Fright I gave a 3. Madam Web I gave a 2, which is very generous. I think that was it.
Nice.
I pretty much only watched Oppenheimer.
Let's
That's
let's
big.
get into it.
So-
We'll set your
Okay, I want to make it clear
We'll
we are
blend
not
it
doing an
into-
Oppenheimer deep dive,
No, although I want to do
But-
that so badly.
but Jake is so interested to
He
hear
really
my
wants to.
thoughts. I have already rated it, and these guys already know my rating. It. I gave
Which
it
we're
5
very
out
happy
of
with.
5. I gave it
Good.
5 out of 5. I really liked the movie. It's very well made, but it is so intense.
It's crazy.
And I know, like, history movies, because they are real events that happened, and particularly World War II, it's so intense and it's so tragic. And the thing I hated the most about the movie, which is not a fault of the movie. In fact, it was portrayed extremely well in the movie. It's just I hate it about this historical event is like the like all these things happen because of the pettiness of these stupid people. Like Strauss is just so...
It's actually Strauss. If you watch the movie, that makes sense.
No. That's why I said it like that. I said it right because he says that in the movie.
Strauss. It's actually pronounced Strauss.
Lowly shoe salesman.
Shush. Yeah, the lowly shoe salesman, really. Director of the AEC.
Yeah. But
Sorry.
like so many of these things happen because of petty decisions. So like Strauss is the main example, but then there's like the guy who's in charge of like making sure whether they're all doing the right thing, who they have the secretly recorded interview at the uni. I can't remember his name.
Oh, the his real
like
character was
Bosch or something like that.
He played by one of my
If you give me an actor name,
one
I
of my favorite actors.
I don't know who the actor is.
Casey Affleck.
Oh, Boris Pash.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Pash.
sequence is so scary.
Like he like that sequence feels petty because like I don't know, everything that happens with Oppenheimer is like they're like, oh, maybe he's a spy, and I get the concerns during the war,
right?
And then I get the concerns during the Cold War, but they prove by the end of the movie that he's not a spy, but they're still like, but your behavior is weird and irrational, so we don't trust you. And it's just like Oppenheimer, for one, he's not a good person. He's not. Don't shake your head like that.
It's great. You can't.
He's not a bad person.
He's not as bad as.
You can't say he's a good person either.
He cheats on his wife.
I'd argue that
it's
Tony
undefinable.
Stark is a worse person. That's bad. That's not a good example because Downey's in this, but like Tony Stark as a character is a worse person than Oppenheimer.
I think they both have flaws, and they both have.
Disagree. When does he ever do something that is like morally considered not morally upstanding, or like after Iron Man 1 or after Iron Man 2,
Civil War?
That's different because that's a question of ethics rather than morals.
Yeah, I think that's a gray area. I think these are all
but
gray
I think
areas.
You can't argue that Tony isn't like a good person. He never like cheats on anyone. He's a bit of a womanizer at the start before he's in a relationship, but he's not technically a bad person. Whereas Oppenheimer I also wouldn't say is a bad person, but like I don't think there's an easy comparison there because Oppenheimer, he cheats on his wife. He constructs an atomic bomb, that's very, very, very complicated during World War II.
There's a lot of ethics there that I don't think we should get into, but yeah.
But then at the end of the war, they're like, yep, made the thing. And he decides that he's anti-atomic weaponry. And he wants to make these peace things. And because because of the American way, they're like, no, we need atomic weaponry. And so they go from the plutonium bomb that they made to a hydrogen bomb.
Yeah.
They start developing the H bomb, the super bomb, after the war, using the developments that Teller was doing during the war effort.
Yeah.
And they start developing that, and he's like, no, I'm against it. And they're like, well, why weren't you against it earlier? And he's like, excuse me?
He was always.
And I'm like, excuse me? Just because you want a weapon because you're scared of the Russians. Like, why? It's so petty. And I think Nolan has done a fantastic job of criticizing the American military-industrial complex and just really breaking down. Like, it's a criticism of the times then, and it's a criticism of now because they still do the same thing. And it's ridiculous how much they care about all this military weaponry when he's like, we need to de-escalate the atomic, like, no one should have atomic weapons, and there need to be sanctions. And he talks about the United Nations, which exists at that point.
Yeah.
And now there are atomic sanctions, but they're not sanctions that stop everyone from having atomic weaponry. It's just like people still have atomic weaponry. I don't know.
I do. There is.
I had way more articulate thoughts about this before I came here, and now I'm talking, and it's just
Yeah.
much
I've got
emotion.
some
Yeah,
questions
there's
that'll
too much
break
emotion.
down your thoughts
Yeah.
and maybe get some more concrete answers.
okay.
out of
Yeah.
you.
Well, let's
But
go.
it's okay. This movie's like a lot. and
However-
it's a lot to talk about.
I back to saying is he a bad person or not. There is something that he looked over, and it really annoyed me, where there was no spy at Los Alamos, even though they were quite lax on security there. Well, he was specifically. He was just bringing people in without authorization, and that's why
Mm-hmm.
there was a spy there. There
Though to
actually
be
was,
fair,
but it
the
wasn't a part
spy
of the
was
movie.
brought in by someone else. It wasn't one of Oppenheimer's people that he
No.
brought in. It
No, no.
was-
Exactly. Yeah.
The spy was the British.
Klaus Fuchs.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the point. I think the point is he
Yeah.
just disavowed it
Oh
no matter
yeah,
what.
I
Yeah.
agree.
But it was.
But
what
that's
was
not
the
a fault
line
with
in the movie?
or
It
the
was
story.
since
It's a
when
fault
were
with
you?
the person in real life?
Since when were you British or something? And then he says, "Since Hitler told me I wasn't German,"
I love that line.
which is really good,
Yeah.
and it's quite convincing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could see why he didn't think that it
Yeah.
wasn't a spy, but yeah,
And it is interesting as well because obviously we find out that he was a spy,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
but it had no impact.
It's not even.
Like it had no impact on the
Doesn't
war
matter.
effort.
Yeah.
Like because they hadn't even finished making the bomb by the time Germany
Mhm.
like surrendered. It had no impact on whether they dropped it on Japan or not, and whether Japan surrendered. And then it still had no impact on like the outcome of the Cold War.
Mhm.
It just had an impact on Oppenheimer's livelihood,
Yeah.
for one, and the relationship between Oppenheimer and the government, which like cannot be downplayed, is of like particularly significant reason as to why atomic weaponry is so prevalent in the
Yeah.
United States.
The first time I watched it and they introduced the concept of a spy, I was watching it like a regular movie viewer. I was like, who's the spy? Like, what this is going to matter? And obviously it does
I
matter.
honestly didn't think about that once.
Yeah, but that was me. I mean, it was a crazy experience, but because I was thinking about so many things. But like, yeah, they introduced the spy, and I thought that would be such a driving force to like the film.
Yeah, I was
it-
just sitting there like,
and it
but
doesn't
there's
even matter.
I was
Yeah.
like, I know historically that this stuff, like knowledge of Los Alamos and like that weapons testing wasn't like widespread.
Mhm.
Mm.
So that I was like, either there can't be a spy, or if there was a spy, it was inconsequential.
Mhm.
So I just sort of didn't even think about it
Mhm.
because I know historically that nothing stopped or was stopped
No.
by
Yeah.
any espionage
Right.
elements.
One of my favorite things about the movie is how he shows what they did at Manhattan with the Manhattan Project at Los Alamos, which is objectively brilliant. Like it's a brilliant thing that they created.
Yeah.
These minds coming together to create something beautiful, and the way he films all that stuff before Trinity is like so exciting. It's a montage, it's music, it's it's pretty electric. And then in the end, you realize what they did. Just
Yeah, because
And
I also
it's
got caught up
amazing.
in that whole. This is really cool. This is
Yeah.
the minds coming together, and it's a really cool sequence. There's music. They're doing something awesome, and then
Indeed. And I think that's literally the achievement of the film
Yeah.
is showing you something brilliant and how that can actually be a negative impact of the world. And 7 times I watched it. Every time I watch that ending, there's a pit in my stomach. And I think it's so effective.
Another thing that's from you speaking about the ending, the pettiness of people, all of it stemmed back to what Strauss thought Oppenheimer said to Albert.
Yeah.
And I knew from that moment that there was no way he even mentioned him.
yeah,
But then they actually showed the conversation, and it was such a poignant conversation.
it
It's
was.
And I,
bigger than anybody than Strauss.
like the whole time after they said that there was a possibility that a chain reaction would never end.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as they said that, I was like, how on earth did an atomic bomb get made? Because they said there's a non-zero chance. If you said that to any member of the public, to anyone who wasn't a high up member of the United States military or government, they would have said, do not make this thing.
And nowadays, everyone would be No one would have said anything. Even back then, when we didn't have phones, there was less information going around. You can't see something like that being made today, and it's so strange
because they
that
say
they
it
do.
is a non-zero chance, and I don't care if it's infinitely low.
Mm.
That is a weapon that could ignite the atmosphere. How is that not more terrifying than it is? And like, this is not a criticism of the movie because they make that the poignant end to the film. They go like,
that was
when
a
you
big
came to me
part.
with those results, why didn't you like say anything to them? It's like, why did you told me that there was a non-zero chance, and I said, like, Albert goes, I told you that this was like your moral decision. And I think that's where Oppenheimer fails. Is like, in that moment when he first meets with Albert with those calculations, he could have stopped the whole thing right then.
That scene is so quick too.
Exactly.
Goes away like that.
And then right at the end of well, not the very end, but in the final act of the film, they say, like, Japan was already in the final stages of surrendering. And as a history student, I know that it's a fine line there. Like, they wouldn't have definitely surrendered, like, atomic bomb excluded.
Yeah.
But they also wouldn't have definitely gone on. Like, it should not have been atomic bomb or the war carries on forever. Those were not the two options.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
it
One
was
thing I
atomic
saw-
bomb or thousands of Americans and Russians getting killed trying to invade the country.
Well, it was
And
thousands.
it was a big toss up.
But realistically, there were more choices than invade or nuke them.
yeah.
Um,
And I'm not downplaying the
but those were the only two choices
hundreds of
presented in the
thousands
movie.
killed by the bomb.
Yeah. Those were the only choices presented in the movie because those were the only choices that the government was deciding between. But realistically, they weren't the only choices that existed.
Yeah.
And one thing I saw, completely unrelated to the movie, but I kept thinking about it throughout, was the American government at one point, because of Japan's like love of baseball, considered just getting Babe Ruth to ask or to tell Japan to stop fighting.
Is that true?
Yeah. They
I had no
considered
idea.
they considered going, "Hey, Babe Ruth, can you just tell the Japanese people to stop fighting?" And evidently they discarded that as an idea.
Wow.
But it was
That's
it was a consideration. And imagine they did that instead of nuking 210,000 people.
Hey, Babe Ruth. You know,
I'm reading a thing
save some
now.
lives.
Was this a serious idea? If so, why the hell wasn't it implemented?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They could have at least tried it.
Yeah.
Maybe
no, straight
maybe
to-
the Japanese would have stopped, or maybe they just wouldn't like baseball as much now. But either way, like, it was a peaceful option anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was just one of my things. I was like,
Yeah.
I loved Albert in that movie.
In Oppenheimer.
Yeah, he was my favorite character, apart from Ollenheimer.
So I watched Solo one evening and then I watched Oppenheimer. I was like, that's where I know him from.
Yeah,
I
it's
knew
pretty
him, yeah.
pretty
It's-
drastic differences in performances.
I think he plays Han very well, but
It does. That
he
movie
just
got
has
way
really
too
tough
much hate
shoes to
for
fill.
what it was.
Obviously,
Yeah,
no one should be asked to do that.
Let's talk about the big thing about this movie, the cinematography, and just some of the lengths they went through for it. So, the majority of this film was shot on 65 millimeter, which is technically 70 millimeter, but whatever. Film in an IMAX camera for IMAX, and
and I watched it on my
they
TV at home.
It's like the people posting it on TikTok. This is how the director wanted us to watch it.
on TikTok.
That's
On
all the
Peacock.
comments. That's all the comments. It's great. Yeah. And they went to Kodak and said, we need to make a custom black and white 70 millimeter film for this movie, and they did, which is
Such
cool.
a flex by Nolan.
Can I have a quick analysis of why only Strauss's perspective was in black and white?
Yes.
because it was documented. It was real. That's how it was.
Okay.
All this stuff in color
That's
is
what it was.
Oppenheimer's perspective,
Yes.
subjective. All the black and white stuff is real.
It was documented.
so-
That's why it
'cause
actually happened.
I knew the divide was
Mhm.
it was Oppenheimer's versus Strauss's perspective.
Yeah.
I didn't I liked it as a stylistic choice. I didn't know that it was because Strauss's stuff was like actually fully documented, because a
the
good
majority
chunk
it
of
was
Oppenheimer's stuff was also documented.
Yes, but there's also some dream sequences.
That
Yeah,
is
stuff
why,
like
though,
that.
you notice in the last scene where they go from black and white with the Albert meeting to color.
Yeah.
That's what that was, because
And
nobody knew what they said in the conversation.
Yeah.
But
He did.
that
Yeah.
was the creative liberties that they took.
Yeah.
Also, at the beginning, he introduces the color as fusion and then the black and white as fission.
Yeah.
And they both have different themes in the score as well.
Yeah, I did get that too.
So the fusion is like all the stuff coming together and the fission is breaking apart. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and
I love how he
really
tells the story.
appreciated it.
The screenplay is amazing. And did you know that he wrote it in first person? So all the Oppenheimer stuff is I walked to the bar
No,
instead
I
of
didn't know that.
yeah.
Actually, I think I did know that, but
Yeah.
I forgot.
I think that would annoy me as a DOP trying to figure out shots for that. But
it would annoy me as a
it'd be
writer.
really good for the
Yeah.
it'd be good for the lead actor whose perspective it's from. But that's it.
Yeah. I think it's the film is all about getting in his head somewhat.
yeah.
So I think it's really effective in doing that.
One little thing with the effects, because they talk about no CGI, and that's a whole umbrella. I think we went over it last week or whatever. But when he's in the basketball hall
Mm-hmm.
giving that victory speech or whatever, and the background starts moving,
Which is an
do you know how they
incredible
did
sequence. Did they shake something?
that? So what they did, they got
Did they shake
Did they
something?
shake
Yeah, they just went and shook the set.
what they did. They took a photo, a really high quality photo of the wall, and
Oh
then
my God.
projected it behind him with a projector and shook the projector.
Yeah, right. They
Which
did
is-
shake something.
That is so cool.
It's so genius.
That scene as well. That's another moment
in his head.
of Oppenheimer's like downfall to me. Is like that's
Mm.
where he could have redeemed himself and he didn't,
Mm.
because he they've just bombed
Yeah.
Japan.
Uh-huh.
They have just killed what is at that time countless people. And instead of him going, this is a sombering moment, a great
Mhm.
moment for science, but a terrible moment for humanity,
Yeah.
he goes, I'm just sad we couldn't do it in time to bomb the Germans.
Yeah, he says the wrong thing. He
Yeah.
tries to
Yeah.
play into this father of the atomic bomb status that the movie presents right after that sequence. But then you literally see right away with this meeting with Truman that he can't live up to it.
Also, I did not know Gary Oldman was in
The
the
makeup
movie.
in that.
No, I knew as
Oh, you
soon
didn't
as he
know
came
that?
up, I
Yeah.
knew
Oh, you
it
didn't
was
know
Gary
he was in it?
Oldman. I just
Okay.
didn't know he was in the movie.
Was there anyone else you didn't know that was in it?
He was the only actor I wasn't
Surprise,
aware.
Brendan Fraser.
But it didn't take me out. I was like, yes, that's his perfect
I
role.
love that scene so
Yeah.
much. I think that scene, it's not the one that like scares me the most, but it's the one that feels like the most real out of like the scary sequences, because this is the president of the United States. This meeting happened. I'm reading the book right now about Oppenheimer's life, and
Are
I
you
just got,
so you're reading the book it's based on?
yeah, and I just got to that scene where he meets with Truman and like it's beat for beat, and it's just so many. Truman says so many things about him, like behind doors that the
Yeah,
book documents.
As he's leaving,
Yeah.
he's like,
Think
"Don't
the
let this guy back
Japanese-
in."
his crybaby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He calls him
it's
a
like
crybaby. And that scene just feels like so.
I hated that scene
American.
so much. Yeah,
He
and-
played it really well.
yeah. I
But I also
loved the
hate-
act. Like
Hated Truman.
that's
for
the
it.
thing. It's like I loved this movie
Mhm.
as a movie. I hated it as like a presentation of historical events, because not because of the presentation,
Mhm.
but because of the events.
It's very confronting.
It's like
confronting.
I'm so glad I'm not American. I feel like America has this place in our society which is like right at the top of like the peak of this is what society is, and right at the bottom of this is what society is. It's like it has like it's the golden idol. It's like everyone's like, oh, America, the land of the great, like blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But then also there are people like that who are tearing apart humanity just so that they can win a war that was already won, or
It's
Uh,
when he
arguably,
leans in and
yeah.
goes, "Do you think the Japanese give a damn about who made the bomb? They care who dropped it.
yeah.
I did."
And it's like, yeah, that's true, but shut up. They care about being bombed.
I second
Yeah.
that.
It's like it's
just the
it's
last hour
so
of that
tragic.
film is just so hard to watch,
tragic.
and it's even better on a rewatch, in my opinion, the film, because it makes all that stuff before it just even more impactful when you when you see it for the first time, like what it's leading to because you know history, so you can see and you know it's going to be impactful, but like the stuff before, the nuances in that story just really, really come forward.
There's also some things that's like that I found not predictable, but like I didn't know Strauss's story, but as soon as he showed up trying to be on the AEC, I knew he wasn't going to get it. And I, like, in a movie, like a typical movie, you know that because he's the villain. But in this movie, I just knew it because I didn't know the historical events, but I also knew it was a historical movie, so I knew he wasn't going to not get it because he's the villain. I just knew it was going to come out. Like, there was going to be something, and he was going to be villainized.
The amount of, like, historical Googling I did during and after my 3 watches of this movie was, like,
the one thing I looked up during the movie was there ever any chance of the Nazis developing atomic weaponry? And I looked that up. It was like right towards the beginning when they say that they've got like an 18-month lead. And the very first thing was like a scientific article, and it was like, haha, no. They were never going to get there. Like, even if they hadn't made the wrong turn that they say like halfway through the movie, apparently they were never going to get there.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
So was this a false narrative being pushed by the government?
Well, they didn't know at the time. They didn't know at the time that they were never going to get
there. They thought
it was still a valid threat at the time. Yeah. And I don't begrudge them for developing atomic weaponry, like, in wartime. Like, wartime, that is when the most innovation happens, during war. And they, like, the idea was to be a deterrent. From the very beginning, it was always going to be a deterrent.
That's the idea.
Because if it was like, they are building atomic weaponry, so we have to build it first to stop them from being able to use it. And that was always the idea, and that's still how atomic weaponry works today. But then they decided that it was the only way they were going to end the war, and so they used it, and that was the scary part.
Yeah, it's about the usage for sure.
But I'm kind of going to go back to the chain reaction that could ignite the atmosphere. I don't begrudge them for deciding to develop it before that moment, but as soon as that moment happened, that knowledge should have been shared, because when Matt Damon's character finds out, he's like, why didn't you tell me this? He's livid. Yeah. And rightly so. Like, I don't think Truman would have stopped the project.
No, because
but I think some people would have seriously considered that as a terrible prospect.
Matt Damon's character feels like the most human, in quotation marks, in the movie. Like, he feels like the audience surrogate, to me at least.
I disagree.
Because he says that.
Like, he's too militaristic. That is the only moment I've felt like he agreed. Like, I agreed with him.
He's the only one that, like, cracks jokes too. So I feel like that stands out as
he
like
does crack jokes.
The most human person, or at least the most real, I guess. Even though everything feels
I don't know.
real.
They all felt real because that is one thing I never feel like with historical movies, is that they don't feel like real people. Yeah. They always feel like real people. Yeah. It's just like, because real people are bizarre. Yeah. I feel like you're more likely to have a character who doesn't feel real in a fiction movie than in a historical, like, movie, even though, I mean, I know it's fiction, but still. But yeah, I cannot in any way say, what's his character's name?
General Groves.
Yeah, Groves. I cannot in any way say Groves is the most human character.
In the movie, for me, it just
I don't
felt
think
like the most...
I don't think any of the scientists...
It was like he was a robot.
Yeah, exactly. From his very first moment, he was like, I'm here to bring you on and militarize your scientific work and win this war. That was like his goal.
It kind of worked for the first little bit.
Yeah, like I didn't dislike him.
Yeah.
I think it fit. It's just like I don't think he's like he feels like the most human character.
I think for me, he was like the only one I could imagine him going back to his house and like having a drink or hanging out with friends.
I think the two most human characters were Gene and
Gene.
Alden Ehrenreich. I don't
Alden
know.
too, for sure.
I don't think Groves.
To me,
I think Gene has the most emotion.
Yeah.
I think Kitty feels more human than Groves feels. But I
think
Kitty
she doesn't,
still,
but that's by part of the story.
Well, yeah, I still don't feel like she feels like a very human character because
she's like your stereotypical
50s
wife who's
like
alcoholic.
She's fully aware that he's cheating on her the whole time, and she doesn't do anything. This is like she keeps telling him to fight, and I do sort of agree with that. Like he did need to stick up for himself a little bit more, but she was also probably one of the only people who could have brought him down a peg or two. She never does that. She always pushes him up on his pedestal, and Oppenheimer did not need to be on any bigger a pedestal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't feel like she feels as human, and I don't feel like Groves is more human than her. So
I don't know. He was like the only one that stuck out to me as like just because he was like the only one cracking jokes, like I said, and interacting with people other than just what's the job. Even though Groves was a lot of that,
all of his interactions, whether it be cracking a joke, whether it be yelling at Oppenheimer. Like, he has human emotions. I don't think he feels like a robot the whole time. It's just at the start.
Yeah.
But he doesn't feel like the audience surrogate. No way. No way.
I felt it not the whole time, but in some
Alden
sequences,
is
yes.
the audience surrogate.
That him too.
He's like, screw you, Strauss.
Yeah.
Like, even from his very beginning when he's just listening, he's like, I want to know why you are so petty.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like he's ever Strauss's subordinate.
No, never. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, I want to know what questions you have for me.
So you kind of already answered this with your Letterboxd rating, which is 5 out of 5. But did it live up to the hype you heard online and from us, and just in general?
It was pretty much as I expected it.
Okay.
Which is a yes and a no, because I knew it was going to be a long, tiring movie. But it wasn't tiring in a bad way. It was tiring because it was tragic.
Yeah.
But I was invested in the story.
Yeah. It's exhausting in the best way possible. Out of the Nolan films you've watched, where does it rank for you?
2, second.
What's
I
one?
still like Inception more. But that's because
I understand that. It's more your vibe.
It's more my vibe. It's like it's a sci-fi fiction film, whereas this is a science. It's not a science fiction movie. It's a science movie that is set in a historical context that causes me so much emotional turmoil that I just can't, like, as a quality, like the movie's quality, I think this is better.
Oh, I agree.
Like,
yeah.
Editing and sound design and like just full stop, like all of the categories.
It's his best movie, in my opinion.
I don't enjoy it more than Inception. Like, I would rather watch Inception. I'm like, if I'm being purely like analytical, I would rank it above Inception. But from a personal standpoint, I wouldn't.
Interesting. Cam, do you have this at your number one, Nolan?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not surprised that you do, Jake.
Yeah.
And I'm
although
not really
the Dark
I will say that
The Dark Knight,
Inception and Interstellar are like fighting for second.
Yeah.
After this, I really need to see Interstellar.
I adore Tenet, though. Tenet.
I just need to see the rest of his movies.
You need to watch it. Tenet.
Yeah.
Interstellar is good but overrated. That's my take.
I just need to see, because
I need to watch Tenet again.
Interstellar
and
and
then I think my
Tenet
ratings will
are
definitely
science
change.
fiction.
Yeah,
they're both science
purely,
fiction.
Yeah.
And so they're in the same vein as Inception, so I need to see them.
No,
compared
Tenet's
to-
actually a documentary.
Oh, okay.
Tenet is real, and it happened to me, and I understand that entire movie. Okay, favorite performance in the film? And I was going to say besides Cillian Murphy, because he's like in another conversation because he's the lead character. But
Florence Pugh.
That was your favorite performance. Interesting. That's it. No other thoughts on Florence
No,
Pugh in the movie?
I'm just not saying anything because Cam's like laughing at me.
I know why it's your favorite performance.
No, it's not. I think she has the most emotional scenes. Like, she portrays the most emotion. And so I think she has the least to work with and pulls the most out of it.
Yeah.
Whereas,
she definitely, for
like,
the amount of screen time that she had,
I
it
agree.
was
That's a good
like,
she...
her performance is so memorable.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
Like-
of that trauma and just that the scene with the bathtub is just...
Yeah. Like, arguably, it would be Killian or RDJ because they have the most, like, presence.
Yeah, they do the
Yeah.
most.
But I don't feel like I can say either of them because they have the most to work with as well.
Yeah, good point.
Like, she's on there for so little, and it's just, yeah, it's
Cam,
so powerful.
what about you?
Points to Scott Grimes,
So good.
who was his counsel, who was RDJ's counsel.
There's
And
so many
he had
good
one
little
line.
performances.
He had one line in the whole movie.
He's because there's 3 people in that room, right? It's
Yeah.
RDJ,
The girl.
Alden Ehrenreich, and then the other person. Is that Scott Grimes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
He-
just always there and he never says
He
anything.
has one line. The rest of the dialogue is between Strauss and Alden Ehrenreich, who's official.
I did
He's
love...
officially the Senate aide. That's his character.
Yeah. I did love Rami Malek's character, Hill, because he just gets bullied by Oppenheimer throughout, and then he stands up for him.
It's great. It
Well,
is
he doesn't
really
stand
good.
up for Oppenheimer. He stands up
For
to
scientists.
Strauss.
Yeah.
And for scientists.
Yeah. Which, like, I really appreciate him because he's just trying to do the right thing the whole time.
Yeah.
And, like, he's there as sort of like this errand boy, but because it's Rami Malek, you know he's going to have an
Yeah.
important moment. Because the other guy who's talking, like, whenever Rami's holding the clipboard, I'm like, I don't know who this actor is.
Nobody, yeah.
I'm
Never
just
seen
focusing
him.
on Freddie Mercury over here.
Yeah.
There's so many good little performances in the film.
Yeah.
I love so many
His
people in this
cast
film.
is
It's a stacked cast.
I love David Krumholtz as Robbie, Oppenheimer's friend.
Mm.
I love Benny Safdie as Teller, the guy that wants to create the H bomb.
I do appreciate, in a way, Kitty being like refusing to shake his hand, but at the same time, I would not personally refuse to shake his hand because she's so caught up on it being like a betrayal of character, and it's like Oppenheimer's gonna lose everything because he loses this job, and it's like, no, you're stuck up on the pedestal with Oppenheimer. Like, I understand why Teller did what he did. Like, Oppenheimer was acting erratically. Like, there was no chance he was a spy, and I don't think they should have ever accused him of that. But he was acting weird,
Yeah.
and that's because he was doing things like cheating on his wife and having these terrible moments of hubris and having mental health problems. It wasn't because he was giving information to the Germans and the Russians.
Speaking of spying again for one little second, did you notice when he was in the room with the conversation that was being recorded, the lamp changes? The lamp desk actually changes because they put the recording device inside it. So
oh my god!
So when he goes in, they're like, "Come back tomorrow."
Yeah, when he says "come back tomorrow," the original lamp is like it's just a bulb, but the one in the room when he comes back the next day is like this sheltered one with the listening device inside it.
I didn't know that, but I thought you. Jake's
I've
watched
seen this
it
movie
7
times.
and-
I've never noticed that.
Go and watch it
Um,
again. You just got the DVD back. Go and watch it again.
No, I thought you were gonna say there was like a
Jesus,
slight
man.
ticking sound or
No,
something like that
Nothing.
from the tape.
It's one little visual thing, and if you miss it, if you're not looking for it, you will miss it.
yeah.
That is.
I
so-
did feel the
Such a good thing.
I
So
did
good.
feel the
Oh my God.
foreboding of that scene,
Mm.
but to me, I never felt it was like. I didn't feel the evil of Pash's character.
Really?
Like, I don't feel like the actor
Through my
looks
history googling,
villainous.
I think
enough.
that's the point.
I know.
though.
through my history googling, he was not a good person.
Oh no, I know
He was an
that.
awful
Like, I could
person.
tell he was not a good person, but it's more just like
But well, actually,
the way he was
yeah,
talking to Oppenheimer. I felt the foreboding in like he was just struggling so much,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like he could have just not brought this guy on. He
Mm-hmm.
caused this issue for himself,
Yeah.
but Like
I
he's
will say
struggling
it
so
was
much, and they're just like beating him
After
down.
just watching some of the Ocean's movies, it's a little bit distracting because he's so funny in them.
Yeah, he's really good in those.
But this
movies.
changing character.
That sequence to me, I'm really scared by that sequence. I think the music and the way he speaks so softly and innocently. And after Matt Damon says he's killed communists with his bare hands,
Yeah.
I'm just terrified. I'm like, what is gonna happen?
You should do a little bit of googling on him
Oh,
because
I'm reading the book.
Well,
there
that's
you go.
that's the thing,
the
right?
stuff that
It's like,
this man has done
Yeah.
is insane, and you would not pick it from that performance.
but that's the thing. Like I feel like it was good acting, but they only show like half of his. Like they don't show his face for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was expecting some major actor who was going to be really like villainous, and then it was just some guy. I don't know Casey Affleck. I've never seen him before.
What?
Well, I've probably seen
You've
him
seen
before.
Ocean's 11?
Yeah, but I don't recognize him.
Wow.
So
But
I
you
was
said
just
that's
like, "Who's
beyond
that?" So it was like, yeah.
I was
there's a
honestly
guy.
expecting him to be that Soviet spy with like the Harry Potter scar that sold secrets to the person, and that Oppenheimer was about to tell him all the secrets. But this is like the first time I watched it.
Casey Affleck's very, very good in Interstellar, I think.
Oh,
Yeah, like I
Yes.
didn't,
Or
I
Timmy
didn't, I
Chalamet.
didn't,
yeah.
I didn't recognize Casey Affleck.
Interesting.
And
okay.
so I was just
That's
like,
fair.
"Who's this random guy?" Because they really built it up.
Yeah.
So like, it's gonna be this scary guy. I was like, "What are we gonna get? Like, Mads
No.
Mikkelsen?" Like I knew it wasn't gonna be Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah.
But I was like, "Are we gonna get someone of that caliber who like always
No,
plays
he
villains
doesn't have
and is
anything wrong
evil?"
with
I
his
think that's what I
eyes,
like,
so
though.
Mads
It's just some
Mikkelsen
guy
would
that,
have-
like, it
Well,
always
yeah, I
is.
get that.
Yeah.
Like I appreciated it, but it was just like they built it up to be really scary.
Ooh.
But then what was actually scary was just the way Oppenheimer couldn't say anything.
Yeah, right.
How much did you notice the aspect ratio changes?
I didn't.
Sometimes mid conversation, it was changing from.
But that's because it was always widescreen. It was never 4:3, so I didn't notice
Yay.
Imagine
because
this
I
movie
didn't
was
feel
4:3.
disgusted.
This film would be awful.
If you
was
watch it
4:3.
again, pay attention to the aspect ratio.
Yeah, no, I've noticed it.
My
No,
God,
what I
dude.
did notice,
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay, it's 178. So like, not tiny bit thinner than your average 16:9. But it went from that to really thin, and then really wide, and sometimes in mid conversation because they had to change around the cameras they used because the big ones with the 70mm print were too loud for conversations.
Ah, right. Yeah.
So they used the
mentioned that in
smaller
the
ones that
documentary,
were
yeah.
still 65mm, but different
not
aspect.
really loud.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But watching it back, it kind of
What I did notice
annoying.
was sometimes there were changes, like it would change a camera angle and it would suddenly go like gray. And when I mean gray, it's like it was in color, but like the black parts didn't look black. They looked like when you turn the saturation down.
Interesting.
But it was
could
only
it have
for,
been
like,
the DVD?
it could have been my TV. But I was just like,
wasn't watching the 4K.
yeah, I wasn't watching the 4K UHD.
You know how much a 4K Blu-ray player costs?
PlayStation 5 money.
$700.
Yeah, that's my guess.
Not gonna lie, it's pretty close to that.
Yeah, I'd rather just buy a PlayStation.
They're
5.
Yeah.
like $200 to $800.
That's why I love my PS5. I can play games and play my Blu-rays.
Yeah.
All right, let's start a fundraiser
I've got 3 more.
to get Ollie and me some PlayStation.
You guys can have mine.
We can, with the money in the Film Society right now, we can buy one,
No, we can't.
Easy.
and then we can get 4 tickets to some movie at Hoyt's.
Easy. Favorite scene / sequence in the movie?
I think my favorite scene was the first discussion with Albert
Yes.
in like when he walks
Out in the forest.
Yeah, in the forest.
Yeah.
Who was that other guy that was with him?
He was an exiled German man who was also a scientist.
Kind
that
of like the
Hitler
spy.
was trying to kill, but
Yeah.
he wasn't a spy.
Because did he show up again?
No.
No.
Because I only just remembered him
It was
right
just like
in
a
this
short-
moment.
It was just like
Yeah.
a short.
Okay, good.
mention.
I was like, yeah, cool. That was probably my favorite scene
Mhm.
because I've now mentioned it like 4 times.
It's a really good scene. I love it too.
It's good.
My favorite sequence
Yeah.
or like moment though, I actually don't know.
Go for it. Do it.
You know what to say.
You
There's
know-
only one right answer.
You know which one.
No, that wasn't my
10,
favorite.
9,
Trinity was not my
8,
favorite.
7.
No, I
It-
was kind of disappointed with Where's the? I had a still of it before.
It's the most
But-
breathtaking sequence I've ever seen.
Look at the explosion. It's so small.
That is not.
It's so small.
that
But
is-
that's the
But
start
then
one
of the
shot.
No, but also the
explosion.
light that it's emitting. No.
That is one small shot out of the sequence.
I also didn't love that
It's so
sequence because the whole time
small.
I was expecting one of them to like look without their safety thing and get
And go
like
blind.
screwed over, but none of them did. So
Even there,
Um,
look. It's so
What do you want?
The explosion is so small.
They show close-ups.
what you wanted Nolan to set off an actual nuke?
He did all
honestly. That's
that
why I got
real.
interested in this movie to begin with, because
There were the
all
memes.
of the memes about like he actually made it. He made a big enough explosion that people thought it was a nuclear bomb.
And the choice to cut the sound is genius.
Well,
that
that's-
sound amazing. I hope it wins it.
That's
That one.
I liked that. That was my favorite part of it
Mhm.
because that was accurate.
But did you know that it was going to happen?
I expected it to happen.
The sound to cut out.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm
I
so
knew
used
it was
to
real, but I was
silent.
like, I didn't know how. it was
I'm
gonna
so used to the use of silence in like movies now
Yeah.
as a sound design technique.
And
that,
I wish
like I
they
just expected it, and I wish it was used more.
Madam Web, if it was silent, so much better.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of films that would be bad.
That's a bit mean. No.
I think
There's a lot
my
of films that would be
favorite
better.
sequence was anytime I can't think of a very
Something.
specific one, but when Oppenheimer was having his like visions, not because of like the really cool visual effects they used, though they were cool, but because of the foreshadowing that did,
Yeah.
and how he was so close to doing the right thing
Yeah.
all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just so frustrating.
The very first montage, can
'Cause
you hear the music? Is
You should
Really
you should
breathtaking.
try when they're there's a quote from one of the interviews that Killian did where he was talking about how they did visual effects in camera, and it was I can't remember the exact quote, but he was lying in the bed and Nolan would like swing these weird things around on a wire with a light attached to it, just like inches from his face,
Mm.
and yeah,
when
he said it was really good for his acting because he could actually see what it was, but.
I
found it
thought it was
weird.
really interesting because there's only one moment where you actually see Oppenheimer and the things he's seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, there's no CGI in this. What?
Yeah.
Because it does sort of look like it's just been superimposed
Mm-hmm.
because it's slightly out of focus and it's sitting on top.
That is just crazy.
Yeah, how did they do that?
So just for context, we're looking at the final shot of like fire engulfing the earth. I'm not sure.
Because I was like,
They
that's
didn't-
a
I don't
really
think they-
high quality globe.
I
that
don't
they've
think they
set on
talked about
fire.
this in. They didn't talk about it in any of the BTS.
No, I have no idea how they did that. This didn't get nominated for Best Visual Effects, by the way. So one more question, and we haven't really mentioned Ludwig's name enough because I think he might be one of the MVPs of this movie. I think might be, definitely is. Favorite track from the score? Do you have one? And thoughts on the score as a whole?
I don't know if I have a favorite track just because I haven't yet listened
Right,
to
yeah,
the
I
score on
figured
its own.
Yeah.
And also I'd sort of already heard the score
yeah.
because it's been in the back of so many like things on social media.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it really correctly emphasized the moments,
Mm-hmm.
and I love how it emphasizes the quiet moments because like
Mm-hmm.
they emphasize, wow, we've discovered we can split the atom. Wow, we've discovered we can blow up this desert. Like they emphasize those big moments, but they also emphasize the quiet, sinister moments, like the Truman thing,
Mhm.
like that,
Pash.
like the Pash scene, like Strauss's downfall
Yeah.
scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like it emphasizes those moments really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I really loved it. I
Okay,
also
cool.
I just love Ludwig Göransson.
He's a
Ever
genius.
since he did The Mandalorian,
Yeah.
and I've become aware of his work,
Yeah.
I've loved everything. he's
Another
done.
reason you have to watch Tenet because his Tenet score is even better than this, in my opinion.
Freeport and Trucks in Place. If you're looking
Oh,
on the
like
on the album, those
some of the
two
most
songs are awesome. I always like mistake them for being part of the one song as well because I feel like they should be, but definitely listen to it.
I'm gonna
beforehand.
listen to the
I'm
soundtrack.
seeing it in IMAX Friday, and I just can't wait for that score to just shred my eardrums.
Is this the first time you're seeing it in IMAX?
Yeah.
I've
I've
your
seen-
eighth screening.
I've only seen Tenet 5 times.
Oh, Tenet. You're seeing
yeah,
Tenet.
yeah.
Oh, only 5 times.
Yeah. I saw it in 70mm Tenet, but not IMAX. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm hype.
Okay, so with that, we will now stop talking about Oppenheimer because that almost became a deep dive.
I'm glad you watched it, and I'm glad you like it.
I did. I do like it. It's just I love history as a student. I hate history as a person, as a human, because people are so selfish.
Indeed.
And it's caused so much trouble for the
Just
world.
Unnecessary trouble.
Yeah. So, it is award season, and the BAFTAs happened this morning at 6:00 in the morning.
Yeah. Did not watch.
As of recording, didn't watch it because sleep is fun and all.
Yeah, I like sleep.
But movies are for life. No.
Surprise! Oppenheimer cleaned up.
Yeah. I know BAFTAs aren't as talked about, but oh my god, Oppenheimer completely cleaned up.
Looks like we're gonna have to talk about.
Let's just talk about. Well,
just go through the category.
just
I
go
don't
through the
have the thing in
categories.
front of me, so pretend you're
So-
presenting it to me.
the winner for best film, Oppenheimer. The outstanding British film, The Zone of Interest.
Yeah, which I'm gonna see next week. I'm very excited about.
Outstanding debut by a British writer, director, or producer was
Earth Mama. I've never heard of.
I've never heard of this one.
Yeah.
Earth Mama, written, directed, and produced by Savannah Leafs, produced by Shirley O'Connor and Med Riordan. I'm sorry, whoever that was.
Yeah.
The best not in English language film, The Zone of Interest. Not in the English language, sorry.
Beat Anatomy of a Fall, which is interesting because Anatomy of a Fall has much more nominations.
Best animated film, Boy and the Heron.
Which might be telling for the Oscars. I really hope it beats Spider-Verse, man. I've got nothing against Spider-Verse. I love that movie, but like Miyazaki, he deserves it for this one.
Yeah. Best director, Nolan, Oppenheimer. Right there. Awesome. I'm surprised that
no Scorsese here
no
is
Scorsese.
ridiculous.
Sorry, Scorsese wasn't nominated.
Yeah, but the
which is
BAFTA is like
weird.
their British films, British directors, so all the strangers
it
got
makes
in.
sense, yeah. Best original screenplay, Anatomy of the Fall. Best adapted screenplay, American Fiction.
Which is very strange because I haven't seen that win a lot of adapted screenplay.
Oppenheimer was also nominated there.
Yeah.
Best leading actress was Emma Stone in Poor Things.
And this is why I think, as much as they should, I mean, Lily Gladstone is not even nominated here.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense to me. And Lily Gladstone, I hope, wins because Emma Stone already has an Oscar and it's a better performance. And Killers of the Flower Moon is not going to win a lot of awards, so this would be the one to give it to. But yeah, it looks like it might be Emma.
Yeah. Best leading actor, Cillian Murphy in Oppenheimer. Best supporting actress, Divine Joy Randolph in The Holiday.
She's won
Rooms.
this award literally everywhere.
Yeah. Best supporting actor, Downey in Oppenheimer, which De Niro was also nominated for. Best casting.
This category is so weird, and
This
the
bit's
films that got
pretty
nominated
interesting.
are even weirder.
But
That's-
isn't this the first time it's been in it?
BAFTAs.
They were saying it should be like people are like this should seriously be a thing.
It got announced that it's going to be in the 2026 Oscars.
Yes, okay, that's what I
Yeah.
heard. Because
Awesome.
like so many films like wouldn't be the way they are. Like you nominate the actor, but who picked the actor?
Right.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
There needs to be like things to say the casting was good.
But the nominations here for best casting is really weird. Like, there's no Oppenheimer, there's no Barbie.
Killers, though.
The Killers of the Flower
Killers
Moon
is
is
there.
there, which is fine, but
Killers.
Sorry.
When you call it just Killers, it's like what?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
but
of course,
no one listening does. Well, I mean, hopefully you guys do, but we'll see.
it'll be good that this is an Oscars category though, because it deserves to be mentioned.
Yeah. Well, when the stunt people coming? Come on,
That's
even
true.
more so.
get on it. Best cinematography, Oppenheimer won.
Yeah.
Lovely. I'm a bit conflicted here because Oppenheimer and Killers, I really liked the cinematography in.
Poor Things is also incredibly well shot.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Oppenheimer is slightly better. It's the best part of Killers that stood out to me is that fire.
Oh my
Mm.
god.
The fire
I still
scene,
think
that's
about that
just-
scene like every day. It's so good.
It's Jake's Roman Empire.
What?
It's your Roman Empire.
Roman Empire. Best editing, Oppenheimer won.
The
Surprise,
editing in that
surprise.
film is ridiculous.
Killers of the Flower Moon was also nominated, as well
edited
as
too.
Poor Things.
Mm-hmm.
Best costume design, Poor Things won. I think that could be telling for the Oscars,
Yeah,
and I hope so.
it will win.
Because the
Best
stills that I've
costumes.
seen from this movie, the costumes look
The costumes
amazing.
are crazy. The costumes and the production designs are the best part about Poor Things, even though that film is across the board just wonderful.
Best makeup and hair, Poor Things also won, which is kind of part of costuming, but also not really.
It's good. It doesn't really stand out to me. None of these films that are nominated, Maestro, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon.
Saltburn, because of
Absolutely not.
because
But
of the
I
Shakespeare
loved
reference.
Oppenheimer's production design.
Oh, I
Oh, yeah,
love.
yeah.
They built a town. Like they did in real life. The town they
Built
built is
an entire town.
really well
Yeah.
designed and cool.
Yeah.
So
And the
why are you
tower.
saying it doesn't stand out to you?
I'm talking about. We're talking about makeup in
Oh,
here.
we're talking
okay.
about Saltburn as well.
Saltburn isn't nominated here, but it's nominated
oh,
in
sorry,
an original
I'm-
score, which makes no sense to
I'm
me.
dyslexic.
I
can't
don't
read that
remember the
properly.
score. Of
There was a
Saltburn.
score. I just remember the soundtrack.
I remember this one song that was really good in it, but I can't put my finger on it. I don't know.
Is it about a
It was
murderer
a scene
on a
about
floor?
like dancing and like killing people, but like on the floor, but also not ruining the vibe.
Mm.
Death at the Disco.
That's it.
No, close. I can't remember.
Panic at the Disco.
Panic. It must have been
right.
Panic at the Disco.
That song.
Yeah,
Panic
that
at
song,
the Disco.
Panic at the Disco. If you remember what it is, let us know on Discord, and we'll give you a double pass to
A movie
some secret movies that we'll talk about
in a minute.
next week. Oh yeah, in a minute. Best original score, Oppenheimer, winner.
Yeah, genius.
No complaints.
Why is Saltburn here?
Best production design, Poor Things.
Yeah,
Um,
it's just unbelievable
Jake
stuff.
would agree.
Yeah,
Best visual effects, Poor Things won, and this is
which is amazing, and I'm glad it got nominated, but no Oppenheimer still.
yeah.
Makes no sense.
Oh wait, did I miss one? No, I didn't.
You
Okay.
did miss best sound.
I did miss best sound. Zone of Interest won that one,
Yeah.
and I'm surprised that Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning was there.
Well, it also got nominated
It's there
best
for
sound at the
Oscars.
Oscars.
Weird. Okay,
Yeah.
because it didn't
Or
really
maybe I'm
stand
thinking
out
of
to me.
effects.
I understand
it
Ferrari
sound?
because
It's sound.
Yeah, yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a racing movie, but visual effects is I think that's like
It's also in visual effects.
well,
Yeah.
no sorry the lineup for visual effects nominations is very similar to the Oscars,
No Godzilla though.
and I feel bad for not mentioning Guardians of the Galaxy because I know the Marvel VFX people are amazing,
yeah.
but they get
Overworked.
so
Guardians is
way
like the
too
only one
overworked.
that's looked good in the past
Yeah.
few years.
yeah, and the creator
The Marvels
that makes
actually,
sense.
the CGI
In
it,
some
like,
areas, it's good.
It
but-
wasn't amazing. Like it wasn't standout like Guardians
Mm.
was, but it didn't seem like they'd been overworked.
No, it definitely wasn't as bad as say, Thor: Love and Thunder.
yeah, and the creator, which is fair.
It's good visual effects.
That's fair. Most of it was really good. On visual effects, back to Madam Web again. I feel like the end of the movie got really lazy.
Yeah,
When you watch it, we'll talk about it.
I'm
but-
not watching it.
Oh, okay. if Olly
In
watches
theaters,
it, we'll
I'm
talk
not
about
watching it.
Madam Web.
Yeah.
It's not great.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I'll watch it eventually because it's a Marvel movie.
Yeah,
But
it's just
it's a Sony Marvel movie.
I
I still
think-
haven't seen Venom 2, so
Venom 2 is so sick. Watch Venom.
Yeah,
2.
I'm keen
It's
to
on
see
I
Stan.
want to see what your opinion is though of the final scene.
yeah.
Madam Web, but
Because
Yeah.
like I said, I expected it to be better than Morbius. Like I didn't think everyone would hate it as much as they hated Morbius, but they seem to hate it more.
I
Well,
love
some
I love that
people-
story around Morbius.
Some people
though.
hate it more, and some people hate it.
They-
less.
The fact that
the
they made them
fandom
really,
bullied
really
them
sick.
into re-releasing it, and then nobody went and watched it.
They lost
It's
80
great.
grand or whatever.
But yeah, that was that from the BAFTAs. We'll see if that has anything telling us
Yeah,
anything about.
almost
that was a
Oscar
really
season,
good way to
like
put
about-
it. I apologize.
We'll see if it tells us anything about
We'll
the
see
Oscars.
if we'll see if it's a precursor to what the Oscars will be. I nearly said Oppenheimer's. But
It's
yeah,
on the brain. It's
that's-
banned though.
it's,
It's banned now.
it's bad for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah,
until
the rest of the season.
We watched
Mm.
that other one that we can't talk about the rest of the season. Yeah, but that's it for award season this week.
Yeah, a few weeks till the Oscars.
Yeah.
Very excited.
finally, let's talk about some Film Society stuff because we are a Film Society podcast.
I'm very excited to hear this because I am no longer
'cause Ollie
the
isn't
president
allowed to be
and
a part of it.
involved in the Film Society.
So the first event of this year, well, it's more of a competition. The first competition is a scene recreation competition, and the theme is award winners. So for the scene recreation competition, if anyone hasn't done it before, you recreate your favorite scene, shot, something from your favorite movie, and it'll go in the draw to win we have 6 double passes to an award nominated film called How to Have Sex. It's a British nominated
I
film.
think it got nominated for a bunch of BAFTAs. I'm not sure about the origin of the director, but
Yeah.
it's supposed to be good.
There will be different categories for the prizes based on year levels: best first year, best second year, best third year, recreation, and yeah. Hopefully we'll talk about that more.
I'm gonna. You could also reach out to Hoyts and say, "We are the Film Society. Can we get free tickets?"
We were
and
gonna
they
talk about that.
They do that.
Okay.
Like we've done it before. You don't have to pay anything. They'll just give them to you.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. So is that different than like the sponsorships?
Yeah, that people can go in and use it for any movie. It's just vouchers. It's essentially getting like
I can
5.
write an email.
You get like
too.
5
No,
vouchers.
Ben can do it. That's his job.
Oh, right.
Just scroll back, search Hoyts,
Yeah.
Okay.
and scroll back to wherever there's an email
Okay.
with Hoyts,
And just copy
and just
that.
pretty
and
much copy
paste
what.
it. Yep.
Any film.
It's like a voucher for one. It's like a free movie ticket, essentially.
Okay, sick. Thanks.
There are
Awesome.
Yeah, of course. Did we have anything else?
I don't know. I'm like all fuzzy and I can't remember shit. My sentence structure's all over the place at the moment.
I'll
Can't
go.
talk about
I'll
them.
go. The Film Society, which I'm not part of, is also working on trivia. They're working on a costume party at the end of the term, the semester. So if you are interested in that, show some love to the Film Society and let them know.
Yeah.
And also buy a membership because if you don't buy a membership, they can't afford it.
Yeah.
So the more that you
Yes,
buy
thank you.
memberships, the more that there will be cool events like costume parties, maybe pizza parties, screenings, stuff like that. So please buy.
We're also
buy the
interested in
memberships.
creating merch, specifically
We are.
t-shirts.
This is a big thing that we've been working on for quite a while, and we would like to know. We would like to gauge your interest. Would you be interested in some Film Society merch? You can
I
suggest.
know I would.
I know.
Me
Well,
too.
you
I'll
guys-
buy it.
you
I
would.
want it for myself.
I'll buy it. I know. Yeah, we've been working on for a while. I think if you guys are interested, chuck it in the Discord. Give us some suggestions of what you want. Do you want a cap? Do you want a shirt?
Coffee mug.
Do you want a coffee mug?
Tote
Do you
bag.
want
Don't say tote bag.
Please don't get us a tote bag. I don't want to have a Film Society tote bag.
No, I'm good.
I don't have it. I don't have any.
Do you want
totes that I
Film
need to have.
Society branded slates?
Yeah.
That would be cool.
That would be like $100 each, but yeah, that'd be
Mix
cool.
7.
Maybe we'll get some Film Society.
You could get
branded.
Film Society clipboards.
Oh, that'd be sick.
I would love that. I would use that
That'd
if
be
I was
awesome.
ADing.
Yeah, so definitely let us know some ideas for what you would like. And if we get enough interest, we'll have a poll. We'll see what everyone would like. And we will also be giving discounts to those who have a Film Society membership. So definitely jump on that.
Yeah.
It is $10 for the entire year. That gets you free access to all of our events, free entry to all of our competitions, and it's just generally a good value for money.
And hopefully we have some screenings coming up that people will be interested in.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
There are screenings coming up. Hopefully, you'll be interested in them.
Yeah.
That's a
Is
good
what,
way to
is what they
phrase it.
mean.
That's what.
True. We gotta investigate.
And
Put some
at
screenings
the
together.
end of the semester, we will be planning, probably in joint with the costume party, bunch of student screenings. So first years, I know I saw a bunch of you out there today shooting your weekly shoot and edit things.
Oh dear.
What do you mean, oh dear? Some of those are really good.
No, they're not fun to do. But
Oh, they're not fun to do. Yes, that's true.
They are
But definitely submit them. Submit anything you've ever made in the last 2 years. You have a chance to win some amazing prizes. So yeah, that's pretty much our plan for the semester. We will, of course, remind you of it as we get closer to said dates and other events that come up and other opportunities.
With that being said, thanks for joining us for this week. We'll see you next week.
we're talking about doing soon. Get ready.
Get very. That's a wrap.
See ya.